reflecting over these things within the last few months. And I went through, so the nonprofit is actually to help people who have been victimized by human trafficking, domestic violence, and sexual assault. And I also have my own story of sexual abuse and domestic violence. And so when my story came out as a teenager of the abuse that I went through, I remember saying, I'm going to help people when I get older to realize that whatever happened to them, they don't have to live that way. Again, I had no idea what that, the revelation behind that. I just knew that what people were saying to me at the time of how my life was supposed to end up, I did not agree. And that just did not sit well with me. And I didn't want other people to feel what I thought they would feel based off of what people were saying. To say that we're going to live as a victim, your life is going to be a certain way because you're a victim, it's those type of stereotypes. It's not to say that your life isn't affected by it, but it doesn't mean that you are what happened to you. And that's what I want to change. That's my goal. Okay.
Oh, wonderful. And so I know, well, at least from what I could tell in the research, that so 2018 has been an exceptionally busy year for you as usual. But so with your nonprofit, how long did it take from the idea of I'm going to start this to where it's currently at right now?
So it's still in the works. We're actually meeting with the board. We're trying to get the board together to finish meeting. So it's been approved on the state level. So now we're ready to send everything in for the federal. So we put bylaws together to send all the paperwork in. So now we just need the board to sit together and approve everything so we can send it in on the federal. But I've been kind of working on this for longer than the board knew. I just pulled the board in, kind of, make this work. But it's just been a long dream. Even for the state to approve it, normally, now I hate to say it, but Arizona they take a little bit longer, to my understanding, than some states to approve even the articles of incorporation. They take quite a few months. Mine was approved within a few weeks.
Okay. Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah, it was. So I sent it in, and even what I typed up was all good the first time around. It was what was the error was something I put in for the board of directors title. That was the error, the one error, but everything else was actually good. So it's been moving faster than expected.
Sure. Well, that's wonderful. So I also want to touch briefly, because you are also in another book that is. Is it coming out, or has it come out?
So the ebook is out.
The ebook is out. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's 20 Beautiful Women, Volume 6. So how did this book come about?
So I have a blog called Freshmanna, and so I've just been posting on Freshmanna. I'm very purposeful on what I post. Sometimes it may not be every day. Whenever I feel that there's a need to post something, I post, and it goes out on, social media. And so the publisher and the original author of 20 Beautiful Women, Saba Tekel, he actually reached out to me through social media. And I was very surprised. I was very surprised because with me doing the blog, this was just something I was just inspired to do. And, I have people that tell me that whatever they read helps them. And for me, that's all I want. And so for Saba Tekel to reach out to me and to ask if I would be interested in co-authoring the next volume of 20 Beautiful Women, I was just ecstatic. It was like, wow, this is going to be great. And so this was my opportunity to tell my story. And so I shared my story of a little bit of my journey of my abuse, but more so to talk about what determines success. Because someone had mentioned to my mother about congratulations on, the publication of my book, freshmanna. And I thought about that and I was like, well, thanks, but what do you mean? Like I've been successful my whole life. This one publication doesn't determine my success. Everything that I've been through in my life that I've overcome, to me, that makes me just as successful as just publishing this book. It helped me grow. And I've touched lives of so many people. And just because others were not there to see or others were not there to acknowledge it does not determine whether or not what I've done has been successful.
Right.
And so that's what I go in to really touch on in my story in 20 Beautiful Women.
Oh, great. So 2018 has been a really big year for you. And so are you working on another book right now?
I am.
I thought as much. Can you talk a little bit about it, or is it still too early to kind of let the cat out of the bag type of thing?
I can talk a little bit about it. Okay. I don't have a release date yet. It's just something that's kind of growing. So this one is more on the Christian level, but it's put out towards the secular world. It's called Seeing God. I, as a child, used to always question everything. Anything that I saw in church and how things were done, I was the one that would raise my hand and say, well, is that really how we're supposed to treat people?
Yeah.
Is that really how we're supposed to teach people or talk to people? Shouldn't we do better? And so all the things that I've kind of questioned throughout my life, this book is kind of coming out of that, which is the barriers that we create that keep us from seeing each other and seeing maybe the way that we should. Whether it's our own personal issues or, when it comes to the church, the barriers that we put up that keep us from connecting to people, period. The ones that we, the lines that we draw to keep us separated from people, which are unnecessary, which should not be there. So those are the things that I'm really touching on in this book to kind of tear that down, because we should be as one people.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm excited to hear more about that soon when you're ready. Again, as someone yourself is so prolific in what you're working on, what does your daily schedule look like? Or do you have a daily schedule?
I would like to say I have a daily schedule, but sometimes I kind of don't. Sometimes I find myself in kind of weird places. And I say that because I'll get up and, I'll go for a walk. I like my walks. It gives me my downtime, my quiet time, my meditation time. It's kind of like I call it like my prayer walk.
Yeah.
And sometimes, believe it or not, sometimes I will actually type up an entire blog while I am walking. And I just type it on my phone while I'm walking. Yeah. By the time I get home, I'll post it. And then depending on whatever is going on for that day, it may be sitting down, people that I need to talk to, a couple of phone calls I need to make. Sometimes that takes up a lot of time as I'm talking to people and whatever they have going on in their life. I did just finish school, so that was taking up a whole lot of time.
Right.
So I would spend about 7 hours a day sitting in Starbucks, wow. Studying every day. And going to school at night, but right now that's kind of dying down. So for the most part, I'm still working on a lot of writing.
Okay.
Whether it's research and writing for the foundation that I'm working on, or research and writing for the book. Trying to put some things together for some speaking engagements. So it just kind of depends on the day of how I have that scheduled out of which project I am working on and which people I am actually talking to today. And we're, getting my son into vet school. So we're about to travel to work on those interviews as well.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent. So then with everything you've done and experienced so far, what would you say has been the best advice you've ever received?
The best advice is to know your worth. Know your worth. And honestly, that has come up so many times for me in so many different ways. When I first graduated, the first time I graduated with a master's, my commander sat me down. I passed him in the lobby. He pulled me aside and sat me down in the lobby. And he said, you have a decision to make. And I was like, what decision do I have to make? And he said, people are going to contact you now about opportunities. You'll have to make a decision about what you want to do. He said, you can leave the Air Force and go make a lot of money and lose a lot of benefits that you're going to have if you stay in and retire. Or you can tell them to drop, bonuses in your account or what have you to kind of make up the difference. So he kind of explained a lot of different ways to make that happen.
Yeah.
But what he was telling me, in a nutshell was understanding what I was worth and understanding, what I would gain and what I would lose, kind of looking at the big picture of things. And I was like, oh, I never really thought about that. So I'm glad he talked to me about that. And so every time I make a decision to do something, I always think about knowing my worth. And it's not always in a dollar sign per se. It's just understanding who I am and what my value is. It keeps me from being pulled in the wrong direction. So even as a woman, knowing my worth, I am not just swayed by anyone who says anything to me. I know my worth. I won't just take any particular job because I know my worth. I won't just go and spend time with just anyone or have just any type of friends because I know my worth. So because I know I'm worth something and I value myself, then I value and I am mindful of who I keep around me and where I spend my time. So I know my worth.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. That's fantastic. So Shawanda, I want to thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. I really appreciate it. If the listeners would like to buy your books, hear more, hear your talks, read your writing, where is the best place they can go to find you?
The best place to find me is on ShawandaRandolph.com. And I'm very active on Instagram, which is at Randolph.freshmanna.
Okay. Perfect. So I will put a link in the show notes to both of those, and people can click right through.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Mine as well. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Advance Your Art podcast. If you like this episode, please go into iTunes and give us a 5-star rating. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button so that every single time I release a new episode, it will go directly to you without even thinking about it. If you're interested in hearing older episodes, please go to advanceyourart.com where you can find the catalog of everything I've done so far, as well as contact information and projects I'm working on. Thank you again, and have a great day.